Hi everyone, welcome back to my Southern California garden. My name is Jasmine. Today we're starting seeds. Apparently yesterday was Ground Hog Day and the official Ground Hog said that we're getting early spring this year. Here in our Zone 10B garden, we aren't going to get frost for the rest of the season. So we're never going to get down to 32 degrees even at night. Now is a good time to start seeds for our vegetables and our flowers. So today I am going to be doing a second round of Persian Cress and some more Statice. And then in addition to that, I'm doing a second round of Cosmos and lettuce. So pretty much our lettuce is ready to go, the one that's in the garden right now. We are going to cut the entire thing out and then replant a second round. So it's going to take about 2 weeks for us to start seeds in trays and then be ready to be put into the ground. So I am starting seeds. I typically start seeds in 2 different ways. So I either do a soil block, which is pretty much like what a lot of big flower farmers use is they kind of like pack soil into this and then it saves on a lot of space, but you're going to need a tray, something like this. This I got a Dollar Tree. So this is kind of like a harder, slightly more challenging way to do it, but it saves on a lot of space. And then there are your traditional cell trays. This is from Epic Gardening's 6 cell trays. I like this a lot, but only because it's a very hard plastic and therefore I can reuse it over and over and over. If you've ever bought vegetables from like Home Depot or Lowe's, they always come in those like really flimsy, crunchy plastic, and then like you pretty much can never reuse it again. Whereas this is probably my 4th season reusing these. And so, I have 12 of them and I just use them for all sorts of things. So why would I use this versus a soil block? Pretty much anything that is a bigger plant seed, I usually use these cells versus the soil block. The soil block obviously is very tiny, so the smallest seeds go in the soil block, and anything pretty much bigger than like the tip of a pencil, I usually put into these 6 cells. So in the 6 cells today, I'm going to be doing lettuce in one and then cosmos in another. And then for the soil block, I'm going to be doing cress and Statice. So I usually do my seeds with just regular potting mix. This is Pro Mix, and I usually just sift all like the big chunks out of it. If you see here, these are like kind of like larger chunks, and why you don't want this when you're starting seeds is pretty much like when the little seed roots, they're a little tender and little like wimpy, and so like pretty much if it hits a stick, it'll stop growing. So you want to take all of that out. So this little like sifter thing I got from Daiso, a whopping $1.75. So this is pretty like a loose potting soil, and I don't really add anything else to it. This is what I use for the base, and so this is just plus water. So for the cells, I usually use just enough water where you can, when you like squeeze it, you can get like 1 drop out of it. Whereas for the soil blocker, you want it almost like a mud pie kind of consistency. When as a kid, when you used to like make those mud pies, like you want it almost like soppy. So right now we're going to start with doing the 6 cells first. That way, like we can add more water later. So this tray is just one of those like teacher trays from the Target dollar section, and this is just that but wet from previous seed starting. So this I'm just going to add more and then add more water, and then we can fill these up and start the lettuce and the cosmos. So when you're packing these cells, we want to make sure that we are packing them really well so that the bottoms are flush with the soil, so that when you are bottom watering in, the water actually goes up. So if there's an air pocket right here, your plants aren't going to get any water, and so that's why I pack it down really tight the first part, and then kind of like loosely pack in the top. So we always want to label our seeds. In this tray, I'm going to be starting 3 varieties of Cosmo: Rubenza, Snow Puff, and Afternoon White. So I'm going to be starting 2 of each variety. Since they are the same type of plant, I know they're going to be able to grow together in the same tray under the same conditions. You always want to make sure that you label everything ahead of time, especially if you're using seed that looks very similar like these Cosmos. So if you look at these Rubenza seeds, you see that they are pretty big seeds that look almost the size of a pencil tip. This makes using a cell tray instead of a soil block more ideal. Larger seeds typically germinate faster and grow into larger seedlings. After I'm done sowing these seeds, I'm just going to cover them up with a little more soil and spritz them in with water to make sure that all the air pockets are gone and that it makes good contact with the soil. So now onto the soil blocks for our Statice and Cress seeds. Again, I'm going to start with our sifted potting soil, but this time I'm going to add more water. Remember, we're going for a mud pie consistency. Using my mini soil plucker, I'm going to press it into the wet soil and using a rocking motion to pack it into the tiny cells, making sure I scrape the bottom so that it's even. Let's give this a try. You see how some of the blocks aren't fully a cube? That means we didn't pack it really well on the side of the tool, so let's try again. Remember to use a rocking motion to make sure we pack all sides of the soil blocker and scraping so that it's even at the bottom. You'll want to use a shallow tray for soil blocking. I really like using these Dollar Tree trays since I'm not going to be starting hundreds of seeds at once, and I like to separate my seeds in small batches. You'll want to press lightly on the soil blocker to pack it in before lifting the tool. And there it is. Nice, neat blocks that take up super little space. And just like how we did with the Cosmos, we're just going to add our tiny Statice and Cress seeds to the top of our soil blocks. To finish them, I'd like to sprinkle some dry potting mix to the top to make sure I barely cover the seeds. These seeds are super tiny, so if we put too much soil, they may struggle reaching the light. Give them one final spritz of water, and then they are ready to go into my seed starting space. So after we are done planting up all of the seeds, we are going to move them into my grow shelf. So this is actually in our garage. This side has a heat mat sandwiched between a piece of cardboard. This is actually Lysianthus that's going right now. This is our first batch of Lysianthus that's going fairly well. So if you want to see, look at that. These plants are particularly tricky because they take like 5 months to grow before you can even put them in the freaking garden. And then this is another set of other ones that I've started. So a little bit of bee balm, and that's a little bit more scabiosa and nigella. So with our new seeds, what we want to do is prop them up as high to the light as we can possibly get. We want about 2 inches from the light and from the top of the soil. So I'm going to keep stacking things on here and I'll show you afterwards. Okay, so on our grow shelf, I put the lettuce here. We added it to the bee balm tray. The Cosmos are back there, leveled up with a little bit of saucers. Here I have like a little decorative tray. I added this is just a piece of Ziploc bag that I cut up to cover it so that I can give it some humidity there for it to germinate. So that's it. It's going to be sitting in here for about 2 to 3 weeks until we see growth similar to that. The stage that we are looking for is anywhere between 2 sets to 3 sets of leaves, and that's when we know we are going to put it out into the garden. And that's it, y'all. Seed starting isn't super hard. It just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of time, but it can save you a ton of money. Instead of buying a $6 tomato plant at the store, you could buy $4 worth of seeds and have tomatoes for like years. So seeds are intimidating, but you get a lot of choice, a lot of variety, and I highly recommend it. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.